You know, they're selling you all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants.
I am gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up? MCR family, another daily edition of Mixed Combat Radio. Hit that like button, share the show. If it's your first time here and you don't know what it is a podcast daily show about all things combat sports, from boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whatever it may be. That's the news of the day. So we're going to cover it here. And also, boxing is always the first part. MMA is always the second part, just for those that know, or don't know, I should say. So yeah, welcome aboard. Hit that like button, share the show. Go to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to help support the channel if you want and get an extra podcast on Sunday. Same time as the daily show, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. And also live fight chats and immediate reactions on Saturday, or whenever there's fights, let's be honest. Like Tuesday tonight is Dana White's Contender Series. I might do a live fight chat for that one. Have not decided yet, per se. But, you know, let's say for this Saturday's UFC card, definitely going to do a live fight chat for that one. Going to have some people on the panel as well to sort of, obviously be the MCR commentary team. Want to quickly shout out everyone in the chat right now. Potential Lunatic, Johnny, Real Niger Chick, what up, everyone? Salute to you. Let's get right into it because there's a lot of news today that we need to delve into. And quickly, shout out to the World Boxing Super Series, man, because they are just heating up in terms of what they're doing. Obviously, was it yesterday or the day before it was reported that the World Boxing Super Series signed with DAZN for their U.S. distributor. Obviously, their 140-pound tournament, that's going to be their Season 2 tournament, has been quickly adding depth to it. And now we're going to get the Regis Prograis Juan Jose Velasco winner, which is obviously going to be Regis Prograis probably, let's just be honest, in the tournament. So just salute to WBSS. So that means we basically have almost everyone at the top. Everyone that's basically a mainstay in the division is signed up with this tournament, except for a few notable exceptions. But we have now, let's say, Regis Prograis, just for argument's sake, because he's probably going to win this matchup. Edward Trinovsky, Ivan Branchik, Anthony Yigit, Kylie Raylick, and who else? There's one more, I believe. Why am I spacing on that? But the notable ones that are not on it, obviously, Jose Ramirez, even though he's been sort of linked to it for a while. And then Maurice Hooker, Alex Saucedo, the winner of that fight, which we're going to get to as well. Those are some notable exceptions to what this is. Rob, a.k.a. Robbie Hearn in the chat saying, fuck boxing, fuck MMA, it's coming home, it's coming home, it's coming, football coming home. Nobody cares about that, Rob. Get out of here. Get out of here, Rob. Nobody cares about the World Cup, except for millions and millions and millions, if not billions of people. But digressing. Josh Taylor, that's the other guy that was in the tournament. And speaking of the UK, thank you, Rob. But Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis should probably be the favorites of this tournament so far. But it's good. I mean, this is shaping up to be much better than the super middleweight tournament, in my opinion. Definitely not on the level of the cruiserweight tournament, but it's close. It's getting there. If they lock up a Jose Ramirez or a Maurice Hooker, Alex Saucedo winner, damn, I will be definitely hyped for this tournament. Probably more than the cruiserweight tournament, just because these guys are still more known than a Dorticos and Maurice Briedis. Like, let's just be honest here. Even though they got everyone in the basic, division and every champion, we didn't know Dorticos. We didn't know Briedis, really. In the hardcores, maybe, but not the casuals. Johnny saying nobody in the States cares about that shit. Talking to Rob, a.k.a. the World Cup, saying we mad DeMarcus Cousins went to the damn Warriors. Yeah, for real. For real. God, man. As a pissed off Laker fan that we picked up LeBron and going to trade away every young possible talent we have just to get the Warriors to get Boogie. God. But digressing, this isn't a basketball show. I'm sorry, everyone. But yeah, I mean, again, shout out to World Boxing Super Series, Regis Prograis, making the money moves. I have been talking to someone in his management team for a while now, and they've been definitely focused on big picture stuff for him. And this is one of them. And also, just for the ESPN versus DAZN narrative, which I definitely think is a narrative that will be the main topic of discussion when it comes to networks in 5 years. This is in a theory, ESPN fighter, even though not really. He is fighting on ESPN in his next fight, now signing potentially his next 3 fights to DAZN. If you're ESPN in a property or an entity that's putting so much money into boxing, and you have a young, outspoken, undefeated champion with knockout power like Regis Prograis, who's from a market like New Orleans, which is untapped completely for the sport, and you lose him to theoretically your biggest competitor in the future, which is DAZN. Damn. Robisky saying, Matt, Colombia lost to England, FIFA World Cup. I know what happened. I just don't care. I mean, come on.
Stay in your lane.
Come on, let's be real about this. But let's move on to the next topic. Just quick shout out to Regis Prograis and the World Boxing Super Series. For them doing their thing and just making money moves, man, trying to get that bag. I definitely understand that and respect that. Joshua versus Povetkin on course for September 22nd, per Steve Kim and Boxing Scene. It's one of those things where it's weird that it's taken this long. Obviously the narrative of, they had 24 hours to make the fight. Why is it taking this long? Obviously they ducked Wilder. Like, okay, cool. You can have your opinion on that. I'm not really here to argue that one. But it's just weird that it's taken this long, period. Like, I don't know what's the concern here. Like, what's the holdup? Usually when you have a B side like Povetkin to an A side like Joshua, these fights are quick to make. Like, think about the Pula fight, the Takam fight. Those are relatively quick negotiation processes. Think about Parker, how long that kind of took. It took a little bit. Look at Wilder. Look how long that took. It's just weird that this is sort of now taking more time than expected when they have a clock, so to speak, they need to do. Like, they need to start promoting this fight. But it's also at least a date. It's a date that we at least can see now. I know they were talking about, I think it was the 8th or the 27th they were still talking about. I think the following week after the 22nd in September. It looks like it's going to be the 22nd, which I believe is Rob's birthday. So shout out to Rob. Rob saying the first DAZN event is the 29th for Bellator. You're probably right that there was a scheduling conflict, so to speak, but not really. I mean, this fight with Joshua Povetkin's in the UK. The Bellator card is in San Jose, California. time zones, it should have been fine. Like, they could easily have gotten off both cards in the same day without overlapping each other, in my opinion. But digressing, they need to hurry up and make this fight because it's still a good heavyweight fight, for even though people hating on this shit, which I understand, but still a good heavyweight fight. We have to at least understand that. Povetkin's still top 10 at least, let's be honest. Speaking of top 10 talent, a.k.a. Jose Ramirez, Gilberto Ramirez, my bad. The triple header. How was it a triple header? I think it was only just a 2-fight. Oh no, they did put another car like in between middle fight between the Saucedo and Lenny Z fight. That's true. It was a triple header. No, I skipped that fight. Let's be honest. Averaged 632,000 viewers on ESPN. Man, that's not good. That's not good at all. Especially when you're going to, again, in theory, Top Rank going from an entity that has at least, 50 million more subscribers or about than HBO, at least domestically in the U.S., and they're getting these numbers. Damn. Wow. That's just insane. But, hey, at least they're putting out content. It is what it is. And speaking of that card, at least, Alex Saucedo, Maurice Hooker versus Alex Saucedo is still on pace for the fall per Steve Kim, as he interviewed Bob Arum, saying that Maurice Hooker, only minor injury, got 5 stitches on his right eye, which I'm shocked it was only that many. Only 5 stitches, insane. Looking at October, early November, I think that's a fantastic fight. And I think if you do not put that in the World Boxing Super Series, it's very upsetting. But if you're Bob Arum, you're not going to do that. It makes no sense to put your fighter that just had a fight of the year, round of the year performance, a coming out performance on ESPN, and then stick him on your competitor's network. Again, another reason why we may not get Saucedo versus Hooker on that tournament, and they might be outliers, a la David Benavidez, a la Gilberto Ramirez, another guy that was an outlier in World Boxing Super Series tournament. So, it is what it is. But Hooker Saucedo, great fight, separate from obviously it not being in the tournament. And I think a close fight, especially with Hooker's performance against Terry Flanagan, a fight that I picked Terry Flanagan to win. I was shocked by that. I didn't expect Hooker to sort of not outclass Flanagan, but he sort of did. Like he was better in almost every category than Terry Flanagan and just outworked him and out-hustled him. Alex Saucedo put on such a great performance and such a fun fight that I think Hooker and Saucedo is going to equal a incredible matchup between two young guys, undefeated guys at 140. It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. Again, maybe they fight Jose Ramirez next on ESPN. I could see that, the winner of this fight, but look out for that for October, November area, or time, I should say. Speaking of Top Rank winning the purse bid for Ray Beltran versus Roman Adriev. I think they were originally talking about Roman Adriev to be on the World Boxing Super Series super finale with Gassiev and Usyk, but now with obviously Top Rank winning it was a purse bid of $225,000. No, sorry, $252,000. It's pretty interesting that from it being Andreev and Russia, now Top Rank winning it. Where is it going to be? Is it going to be? Oh, sorry, scheduled right here for Phoenix, Arizona. I can see that. I can see that completely. Hold on one second. There's a car alarm outside. I'm going to completely close the window. That is insane. I apologize that to my MCR family. I'm back. I'm sorry about that. Just curious if you guys can hear that still. Let me know if you can hear a car alarm going off, because that would really piss me off. I'm going to beat up my neighbors. Potential lunatic saying, how many counts does Legendary Boxer have? LOL. That's hilarious. I love that shit. He has a lot of accounts, let's be honest. He does. He has to. But Ray Beltran should get this win easily. I mean, even though Adriev is undefeated, 21-0, 15 knockouts, it's not like he is, as seasoned as Ray Beltran. Even though Ray Beltran's probably a little bit past his prime. I mean, he still has had a good renaissance in his career and should still be the sort of, the favorite in this. Kind of fortunate, though, that we get that matchup next. Like, that's not a matchup that I think anyone really cares about. But just want to make note of it, as Top Rank did win the purse bid, and it will be on ESPN August 25th. Speaking of non-ESPN fighters, or maybe DAZN potential fighters heading forward, just saying, rumors. I don't know. We do have that announcement next week, or is it next week or the week after, with the 3 champions. Maybe Jared Hurd, Charlo's one of them. I don't know. But Jared Hurd saying Charlo fight's not next, need a tune-up to test out the shoulder. Completely respectable, in my opinion. After, first off, not only the surgery he's had on his shoulder, because I had a similar surgery on that. I know the sort of recovery it takes. But the wars he's had, man. Austin Trout, Eslon Delora, those were 2 potential fight of the years back-to-back where he had to come back and win them. If I'm Hurd, or if I'm his management team, I should say, or his promotional team, I tell him to sit down and wait. You rest up. You've taken a lot of blows. You have a hurt shoulder. You can go take a tune-up in like November, December, and fight Charlo first half of next year. Don't worry about it. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. And I think the fans should definitely understand that. Like, Hurd has put on great fights for us, and anyone coming off of surgery should take a tune-up. Like, it makes 0 sense to go in there with Jamel Charlo, who is, again, if not the best one, is the second best fighter in the division. Like, you won't come in 100% for that one. So I don't blame him at all. Interesting to see, to try to find out, who is the tune-up. Is it going to be anyone we know? Probably not. Johnny saying, your article said Laura Charlo in the article. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, that's hilarious. Shout out to, I see what you're saying, Johnny. Shout out to incorrect shit on articles not corrected by editors. As a former editor, that really pisses me off when that happened. But digressing. Shakur Stevenson getting into some news, unfortunately, not some great news, being arrested and charged with misdemeanor battery after a brawl in Miami. I don't know the particulars of this case. I saw some people on Twitter saying some weird things, so I need to do some more research on this and what happened, because there was reports of it was female victims involved, stuff like that. So I don't know really what to make of this yet. Shakur just turned 21 on Thursday, 7-0. He's a young guy. I hope this isn't anything indicative of what's going to happen in his future. But this is a misdemeanor. We're going to talk about another sort of assault charge later, but this is just misdemeanor battery. He should get off with some community service and a fine, and he should be all right. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, just it's unfortunate. It's one of those things where I don't have a lot of thoughts on it. It's just one of those things where he's a young guy, undefeated, a lot of potential. You really don't want to see that road and that path being gone down. And he doesn't seem like the guy that would go down that path. So it would be against character, I would say, from what we have sort of seen from Shakur Stevenson. Speaking of some other sort of TMZ news before we head over to MMA soon, Mayweather being sued over alleged no-shows in Nigeria and Ghana. He was apparently supposed to get paid around $400,000. They gave him about $200,000 in advance. Didn't show up. Classic Mayweather. And now they're suing him for a few million. So salute to that. But yeah, shout out to Mayweather. Always news. Have to do that. You just do. Another sort of star in the sport, Tyson Fury. Yes. Well, I shouldn't say he's really in the news. Somebody's mentioning him in the news. David Price saying he's very interested in facing Tyson Fury. I love this matchup. I think it's a fantastic matchup next for Tyson Fury. I know it's probably not going to be next because they're both scheduled soon and on different dates and different cards, obviously. But Tyson Fury against David Price, tell me that doesn't sell in that area, in that market. And tell me that we as hardcore fans wouldn't at least watch that with some interest. Maybe not live, because obviously we may not get, television rights to it or, distribution rights over here as the U.S. fans. But I would still watch it on YouTube the day after or an hour after at least. I mean, come on. This is Tyson Fury versus David Price. And the build-up would be great. They both talk some shit. They do. So, and it's a guy that's bigger than Tyson Fury. So, I mean, that'd be interesting to see, even though we all know David Price is a gigantic version of Amir Khan that's not as skilled or talented or athletic, obviously. So, will David Price win on July 27th? Who is he fighting? I don't think he has an opponent yet. I know he's scheduled for that date in Bolton, I believe. But I don't think there's an opponent been made. Same with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury has a fight coming up, and there's still no opponent named for that. Potential lunatic saying, don't see that fight being made. Hearn and Warren fighters. Yeah, but I mean, Tyson Fury and like Tony Bellew have discussed fighting each other, and it's never seemed like an issue with promoters for that one. And I can see Tyson Fury not having, let's say, an exclusive deal to BT. Like I don't know if he does or not. And it's one of those things where, let's say David Price wins this. What are you going to do with him? Maybe the biggest money for David Price is Tyson Fury. And as a promoter, you're still going to get a check of that. Like, if you're Eddie Hearn and you let David Price go fight on BT Sports against Tyson Fury, you're still getting a check from that if you're Eddie Hearn in your match room. So I don't see the real concern from it. Because it's not like you really think David Price is going to win. You're putting him in there because you know it's going to be a big paycheck for him. And that's all you're really thinking about, is getting your guy a big paycheck. Maybe that's a little bit too pragmatic. Let's just be honest. Last piece of little boxing news or, factoid of the day. Never trust promoters. I always say this. Do not trust promoters. Jed Goodman reporting that the box office for Golden Boy Promotions, Ryan Garcia versus Jason Velez fight, which happened the day before Cinco de Mayo, before the Triple G Vanessa Monterosen fight. Tickets sold, 4,814. The night of the fight, the announced attendance was over 6,000. Shout out to promoters, always doing that. Just want to put out the right information out there for the people so that they know. I know Legendary Boxer is going to get hyped about that because he hates Golden Boy, but just want to put that out there. Come on, promoters. Don't lie to the people. It's not that hard. Like, you don't need to lie about how many people were in the fight to watch a Friday night event with Ryan Garcia and Jason Velez. Also a gate that did under $200,000. That's small. But this is the time, ladies and gentlemen. It's been it. This has been the end of the boxing portion of the show. We're going to head over to MMA. So if you want to leave, stay, whatever you want to do, you can do that. But heading out into the MMA portion of the show, manager says Robert Whittaker could be ready for New York City card, and Chris Weidman would be perfect foe. Yes, please make this happen. I know Kelvin Gastelum probably deserves it more. Let's be completely honest here. But I've been wanting this fight for a while. I think this fight's a fantastic style matchup. I think in 2018, it's another version of like the old versus the young. Because I think Chris Weidman is already like veteran status. Like similar to the state of Rashad Evans, Machida, Shogun. Like that run of guys that John Jones went through. Where they were all former champions, great guys, elite guys still. But they were a little bit faded. They were a little bit different. That's Chris Weidman at this point. And I think as a champion like Robert Whittaker that's starting to build his legacy that's really turning into an interesting one, I think Chris Weidman's a name you sort of need on that resume, especially since he should be moving to 205 soon. Like, the fact that he's still making 185 is just incredible. I don't know how he does it. Plus, there's big money up there at 205 against potential John Jones, Daniel Cormier, Alexander Gustafsson. There's some big money fights at 205 for Chris Weidman to end out his career. This is a fight that I think needs to get made now before it's never made. And Kelvin Gastelum will always be there. Kelvin Gastelum is younger, a little more in the prime of his career, and I think he can wait a little bit. I think in the greater scheme of me as a consumer in the sport, this is the fight to make in New York City, I should say. And I think it would be, if not 50-50 fight, very close to it, with Robert Whittaker being a slight favorite, just due to, obviously, momentum and where he's at in his career. But great matchup between the two. Something to look forward to if it does happen. And stitching back to some legal issues, Volkan Ozdemir's felony battery trial is pushed back to July 9th. I really don't know much about this other than he knocked out somebody in Florida after, like, outside of a bar or something. But just something to note that they've been trying to move him to fight Alexander Gustafsson August 4th in Los Angeles. So it's one of those where just keep an eye out on what's going to happen, how it's going to affect everything. He is getting charged with a third-degree felony. So that's a little bit different than a misdemeanor. It just is. Like, felony, you get jail time. Potentially. Like, misdemeanor, you get community service and a fine, basically. Kyle in the chat saying, I see Whittaker going down as one of the greats. If maybe not one of the greats all time, but at least in the middleweight division. The middleweight division doesn't have the greatest of histories, let's be honest. And Whittaker can easily establish a pretty legit legacy within that division because, I mean, Chris Weidman didn't really have much of a legacy at the top. I mean, his reign was very short, even though it was a decent run. It wasn't Anderson Silva-like. And then what, you're going to go back to like a Bustamante? Like, there's not a lot of guys out there in the middleweight division in terms of history that you can really say this is the top 5 or 10 of all time. Whittaker can easily jump in there. One of the greats overall, a little bit harder because you're thinking John Jones, BJ Penn, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, Fedor Emelianenko, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, throwbacks, Hoist Gracie, Ken Shamrock, Frank Shamrock, for God's sake. There's a long line. Jose Aldo, Dominic Cruz, I think, has a much better legacy than a Robert Whittaker at this point. Whittaker has some time before he's in that conversation, but he's quickly approaching middleweight conversation, which is always easier, per se. But speaking of the whole movement of Volkan Ozdemir to fight Alexander Gustafsson, he was supposed to fight Shogun Rua, but now Shogun Rua's opponent at UFC Hamburg is going to be Anthony Smith, who is a rising prospect, or contender, I should say. This is going to be a coming-out party for Anthony Smith, 100%. And poor Shogun Rua. Shogun Rua is going to get knocked out bad in this fight. Anthony Smith is too good, too fast, too strong, too much power, and it's just momentum right now. I mean, Shogun Rua is the Mike Alvarado at this point of MMA, the Brandon Rios of MMA, the Arthur Abraham. I can keep going if I want to, but that's just too mean. I like Shogun too much. It's hard. It's really hard to see him at this stage, and I think Anthony Smith is going to destroy Shogun. And at least it's not going to be as painful as the Volkan Ozdemir fight, because Ozdemir would have, really hurt Shogun. Anthony Smith is going to beat him up, but it's not going to be as bad, let's be honest. But still, a good fight if you're thinking about what it does for the division. It helps Anthony Smith out. It brings up a new guy at the top, and you sort of need that. You need that turnover. You need the young to feast off the old, and this is another case of that. Another fight that's been sort of rumored or announced, not really announced, but I mean, it's starting to marinate in terms of negotiations, so to speak. Stephen Thompson. Wow. Stephen Thompson says UFC discussing South Carolina debut, and he wants Robbie Lawler in headliner. There is too much goodness in this matchup for us as a consumer. Like, I don't think we deserve this fight. I think Stephen Thompson should probably be the favorite in it, obviously, with where Robbie Lawler's at, but damn. Tell me that's not a great matchup. Tell me you would not, maybe not pay for it at this point, let's be honest. But, I mean, as a hardcore fan of MMA, I might pay pay-per-view dollars just for that. I might do 50,000 pay-per-view buy, something like that, but I don't care. I would you take all my money. Take all my money, UFC, for that matchup. Please. Please. That is one of the best fights you can make in that division, if not the entire sport. And I hope it happens, obviously, in the very preliminary stages of that fight being negotiated and happening. But with those two guys, if Stephen Thompson wants to fight, are we going to really think that Robbie Lawler doesn't? It's Robbie Lawler, let's be honest here. Let's be completely honest. Speaking of a little more bad news, though. One championship bout sees decision reversed after review. So basically, there was a close fight, and one championship, one FC. They, as an entity, them as a promotional company, reversed the decision and the win. Because there's no real sanctioning body / regulatory body in that area of the world. Just look at what Japan does. So, yes, I mean, I've seen a lot of really good takes from reporters about this and journalists about this, about how the precedent of this, what it sets, that a promoter can theoretically go and reverse what a judge's scorecard is. That doesn't seem like a good idea in the slightest. And I saw a ton of reporters say this, and I'm going to echo this as well. I really implore ShareDog.com, Wikipedia, Tapology, all the basic, data dumps of fighter resumes for MMA, all those, the ShareDog Fight Finder, all those places, they should not reverse this decision win just because a promoter says so. There is no reason that they really said other than the fight was close, and we reviewed the judging criteria, the scoring criteria, and we thought the other guy won. That is an extremely bad precedent to set for the sport. So, yeah, I really hope that just the industry as a whole rejects that entirely. I mean, one championship has done some really good things about trying to curb weight cutting, some really experimental stuff about that. I applaud them for that. But for this, no. Like, this is completely ridiculous and makes a farcical of our sport. Like, this makes us seem like a joke. This would be like the NFL going in the Super Bowl and saying, no. Sorry, Patriots won. We decided that. We reviewed the rules and how you score a touchdown, and we think Patriots actually won it. It would be universally laughed at and mocked and thought of as a joke. So, yeah, I don't know what you're doing, 1FC. Come on.
Smoke.
Get out of here. Get out of here. That's one of the worst things you guys have ever done. But digressing from that awful news, some positive news and still slightly related to MMA. Report that Black Panther actor Winston Duke linked to Kimbo Slice film. Ooh, I actually like this. I think it's, if done right, a Kimbo Slice film will be fantastic. I know maybe for those a little more casual, potentially, like Kimbo Slice is always seen as just this caricature of himself. But if you've ever seen a more in-depth expose or documentary on Kimbo in any way, you see a really interesting person, a fascinating, to use a lack of a better word because just use character, a character within the sport. And if done right, a film can really be excellent and really, I think, honor the legacy of Kimbo Slice, especially since he passed away suddenly, 2 years ago now, I think. And I think Winston Duke would be a fantastic actor for the role of Kimbo. I think that would make complete sense. But yeah, just want to make that news story out there, put that out there, 'cause I think that's some good stuff. And it's, even though it's Kimbo Slice, it's more exposure for MMA on a mainstream level, and that's always good. Kyle saying RIP Kimbo, yeah, RIP always, man. I think the anniversary of his death was like a month ago, I want to say. But yeah, shout out to Kimbo, man. He put a lot of eyes on the sport, and I think that's always underrated. Like, he carried Bellator and the Ultimate Fighter season when he was on it. Like, he carried so much drawing power wherever he went. He was an enigma, to say the least. So shout out to Kimbo, as always. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Another edition of MCR Podcast, another edition of Mixed Combat Radio. Hit that like button on the way out. Share the show. Subscribe. Make sure you go to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio to support the channel a little bit extra. Be the board of directors, so to speak. Dennis in the chat saying, I'm back. Dennis, what up, man? How you doing? But yeah, sorry, Dennis. It's the end of the show. Find me on all these platforms. Matt Hunter, MCR. Mixed Combat Radio, all platforms. So, Kyle saying, didn't Kimbo and Muhammad Ali all die, or Ali die on the same day? I want to say you're right. Or it was like within like 24, like 36 hours, I want to say you're right about that. But, yes, salute to and RIP to Kimbo Slice and his legacy. Salute to all the men and women that put on these great fights for us. And I'll be back tomorrow, same time as always, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK, for those that are UK listeners. Thank you. Yeah, deuces. Bye.